Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Nextiva. Gone are the days of jumping from app to app, killing precious time that you could be using to get real business done. Alternatively, with Nextiva One, you can communicate and collaborate with your customers and teams from one single place. Threaded conversations that let you see an entire call and messaging history regardless of communication channels. Seeing the whole conversation in one place actually gives you the whole story of the customer and allows you to provide premium personalised services while connecting with your team. Get your Nextiva One customer and team conversation system set up and running today by simply visiting nextiva.com/techtalkdaily. Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day I explore a different industry and try and learn a little bit more about how technology is impacting everything. And today I want to talk about the world of real estate, or Proptech as it's often called, and I have found the perfect guest to help me do just that. Now, many of you may have heard of the CBRE group because they're one of the world's largest commercial real estate services and investment firms. So I hope with their deep market knowledge, superior data and proprietary technology, their multi-dimensional perspective will help businesses and listeners use real estate to transform their business and find greater success. And I want to learn more about their mission to realise the potential of clients, professionals and partners by starting to think about building the real estate solutions of the future. And that can mean anything from instilling confidence in today's decisions to reimagining tomorrow's spaces and how they thrive in complex and ever-changing environments. So today, the CBRE Group's Chief Digital and Technology Officer, Sandeep Dave, is going to join me on the podcast today to talk about how the commercial real estate industry has changed over the last few years, especially around the accelerated reliance on data and technology. I also want to find out more about the challenges facing their clients, the future of work, sustainability, efficiency, and how they're using data and technology to maybe solve some of those problems, while also sharing his perspective on what's going to be next in the industry. We've got so much to talk about, so buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Dallas, where you can join me and Sandeep in a conversation about all of this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, first of all, Neil, thank you for having me on the show. My name is Sandeep Dave. I'm Chief Digital and Technology Officer for CBRE. A little bit about CBRE. CBRE is the largest commercial real estate brokerage services and investment firm. So we help commercial real estate clients, which is basically investors and occupiers of real estate, through the entire life cycle of the real estate process, from investing in space to building it out to managing it on an ongoing basis. We are a global company that operates in over 100 countries. We process over 500 billion in transaction volume, and we manage close to 7 billion in square feet. So that's a really large operation. And in my role as Chief Digital and Technology Officer, I oversee all aspects of technology for CBRE, which includes the CIO function, financial platform, cybersecurity. It includes enablement of our service professionals and our clients through technology. It includes our VC investments, partnerships, so on and so forth.
And I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into everything CBRE in a moment. There's so much we got to talk about today. But before I do, I'd love to find out a little bit more about you. So can I take you back in time for a moment? Can you remember where your passion for technology came from, or the moment that put you on the path you're on today? Or ultimately, as they say in those Hollywood movies, what's your origin story?
Yeah, what a great question. So we all have an inspirational figure that we look up to, who has influence in our lives and our choices. And very early days, this was many moons ago, I have a cousin who was a successful tech entrepreneur at the time. And that really inspired me. And that, I don't know if I realized, but I said, hey, I want to get into computer science and computer engineering. And that's how the journey started.
Fantastic. And of course, it was that path that would lead you to CBRE, where you are now. And I'd love to find out more about the impact that technology has had on the company, especially around the problems it helps you solve too, because the world has changed so much in the last 3 years alone, hasn't it?
Well, exactly, Neil. The world has changed so much. And in fact, what I would say is that the commercial real estate industry is in a moment of tremendous change. Tech has impacted every single aspect of real estate and the entire life cycle of real estate in terms of how space gets toured, how investment decisions get made, how space gets built, and how space gets managed. All of these have changed dramatically, and the old ways don't apply. So, for example, there was a time when brokers would tour all the spaces, but you cannot do that anymore. There was a time when it was okay to have a building managed in a certain way, but today there are different pressures around how the building gets managed, the cost pressure, so on and so forth. And so as a result, technology is critical to enabling that entire life cycle in new and different ways.
And of course, we're now already in November, and we're reaching that point in the year where we're starting to reflect on everything that we've seen happen throughout this year, and also how the emerging tech trends are going to impact our world next year in 2023. So can you tell me a little bit more about some of the priorities that you and your team are operating against right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of these challenges translate into our priorities, and maybe I can double click on some of that a little bit. Yeah. One of the things I often find myself saying is that commercial real estate finds itself in the middle of two of the most dominant trends of our time. One is the future of work. How are people going to come into the workspace? How are they going to collaborate? And how is the space going to look like? And that has suddenly become a C-suite conversation. So that's one. The second is sustainability. By some measures, 39% of greenhouse gas emissions are contributed through real estate. And so what is the role of real estate leaders and large companies? Many of the Fortune 500 companies have declared net zero goals by a certain time frame. And there is a role of technology in enabling all of that. And so our priorities as we work with large occupiers are to help them with these challenges. So our priorities with large occupiers is to help them with these challenges, enabling three outcomes: help them reduce costs, so efficiency, manage their energy, and help them return to work. We are also enabling integrated workflows for our service professionals. And finally, we are focused on ensuring that we surface the right data and the right insight at the right time across this entire life cycle.
And I'm curious, have you seen the state of commercial real estate and the entire industry change over the last, let's say, 5 years? And how have you seen the future of offices change, especially after the pandemic, as we've been on this journey of working from home at scale to hybrid working and the expectation to work from anywhere, any device and any location, etc. What are the big changes that you've seen?
Yeah, exactly. The office environment has gone through tremendous pivots over the last 3 years, right? From everybody in the office to everyone remote to some of in the office to no one really knows. But what we know and what survey after survey tell us is this notion that employees have really expressed the interest to work in a hybrid manner. And so therefore, the office now looks dramatically different, right? The office is no longer a place where people come in to get work done. They go in to collaborate. Furthermore, the office is no longer one given location. The office is distributed, including your home office. And so as a result, both the physical space and the technology in the space needs to evolve to support this new way of working.
And I'd love to find out a little bit more as well about how can real estate tech firms such as CBRE actually aid corporates to get employees back to work and improve productivity at work, wherever that may be? Because there's so many big changes going, but everyone's chasing the same thing, and that's increasing the productivity, increasing collaboration, etc. So any tips or advice or insights you can share around that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we can share our own personal story which then, of course, we've taken to our clients. So we've eaten our own dog food. So one of the things that we did right at the time of the pandemic was that we actually picked a new space when all my teams were remote, and we completely redid the space. And we redid the space to be very inviting, with open areas, collaboration rooms, scrum rooms, wellness rooms, a library area, a space where people can come in to collaborate. What we also recognize is that at any point in time, somebody is going to be remote. So when you're having a meeting, if you've got 3 people in the room, most likely there are 3 people who are going to be remote. So we've actually infused technology in the workspace that bridges that gap. So smart cameras in any room, so that when you are in a conference room, you just don't see a long table, but you can actually see faces. So the person remote can actually see spaces. If I'm writing on a whiteboard, they don't see me writing, but they see the whiteboard. Technology like that really bridges the gap. The second is that we have an app, which we call CBRE Host, which allows our employees to decide when they should come into the workspace. Is today going to be a productive day because my colleagues are going to be in? What space do I pick to come in? Can I book a desk because I am coming in? So on and so forth, right? So it allows me to make decisions that will allow for me to have a productive day in the office. And these things, we have now taken. Workplace 360 is an offering that we've taken to our clients, and we constantly evolve it. It's not a new offering. And CBRE Host, which started off as an experiment a few years ago, is now live with 600 plus buildings in about 35 plus countries.
And you have the luxury of speaking with businesses and huge brands all around the world every single day. And I'm curious, if you were to put all those conversations together, are there any trends around the kind of big challenges that are facing CBRE's clients? And on top of that, is there any examples you can share about how you're using things like data and technology to solve some of those challenges too?
Interesting the way you framed it, Neil, because those are very interrelated questions. The challenges that our various investor or occupier clients are facing, and the role of data and technology to really unlock those challenges, right? So our investment decisions are no longer macro. The investment decisions are no longer, well, I just need a space in a particular market or sector. They are becoming extremely micro-segmented in terms of the preferences of the investors. What does the investor care about? Is it gentrification? Is it climate change? So there are so many factors, and that all requires us to capture and synthesize data so that we can give them the right insight at the right time. The large occupiers that we work with, they're heavily focused on reducing cost, managing energy, and helping employees come back to work. And the old rule book has been thrown out of the window. No longer can I have someone walk around with a notepad or even an iPad in the offices and capture a statistically significant sample. Occupancy insights have to be based on day of the week and time of the day. And so the old rule book has been thrown out the window, and therefore you need the technology that enables these insights and these inferences and all the data that can enable these inferences in real time. So one of the things that we have done, coming to your data question, is we have built an enterprise data platform that ingests data from 300 plus data sources and slices and dices it in many different ways so as to enable these insights.
You made a great point there. You said about the old rule book has been thrown out the window, and it's such a good point, because I think everybody's now encouraged to think differently, think bigger. And there's that phrase, there's nothing more damaging in business but we've always done it this way. And I think there's that whole realization that we're all exploring the art of the possible. And one big trend this year, of course, is the Metaverse and how that comes into hybrid working. So my question to you is, what do you see as next in the industry? And from your perspective, how is the CBRE group exploring and embracing the idea of things like the Metaverse and other emerging technologies?
Yes, the Metaverse. It means so much it means so many different things to so many different people, right? There's so many different examples and inferences of the Metaverse. We have actually taken 2 interpretations of the Metaverse. We recently announced a partnership with Microsoft, and Microsoft is heavily focused on the industrial metaverse. And when they say the industrial metaverse, what they refer to, what they refer to the industrial metaverse is basically the bridging of the digital and the physical worlds, and the application of technologies to unlock efficiencies. And with them, we are working on several things. For example, one of the areas that we have deployed is supporting our technicians in complex environments, such as life sciences labs, where they manage complex and expensive assets, where they can get remote support. So they could be in the field, but they can get some support from somebody else. Though that's one example of the metaverse. The other example of the metaverse is we've simply been trying out, we have a XR lab in our offices where we are trying out any and all kinds of technologies to see how can we better onboard our talent? How can we conduct better and more immersive training environments? And the technology is not really ready to have a full, rich experience around that, but we want to start testing it now so that when it is ready, also ready.
And we've mentioned one buzzword there, the metaverse. It's a big topic this year. And the other one is digital transformation. And if we zoom out for a moment, how do you see, or what does the digital transformation in the real estate sector mean to you, and the increasing use of technology to transform that space? Do you have any particular strong opinions or views or insights you can share around that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are three parts to it, right? One is, for any digital transformation to work, you've got to be solving real world problems, and you've got to be transforming both the company and the industry at the core. I have seen across my financial services days and in real estate, many companies declare themselves as technology companies and therefore operate in a certain manner, set up an innovation lab, attempt to out-Google Google. And that all looks fine for the first 2 years, where you see a whole pipeline of innovation and a whole bunch of experimentation going on and interesting ideas. But then after 2 years, you realize you have done nothing to change the core business. And so the first philosophy is that digital transformation really has to go at the heart of the business. And sometimes it is not sexy. Sometimes it is, hey, there is a lot of manual processes in our environment and we've got to automate them. There is a lot of siloed data in an environment and we've got to break the silos, right? Those are the things that we went after. The second is, how do you benefit from all the external innovation that is happening? And so therefore, how do you participate in, whether it is Proptech or climate tech? How do you participate through venture investments, which is what we do, or how do you participate through direct investments, continuous exploration? That's the other area. And the third area is really around data. And data is, as many say, the new crude oil. And why is it the crude oil? Because you need to do all the hard yards around capturing it, cleaning it, synthesizing it, changing processes so that you actually capture the right data at the right time, so that you can surface the right insight at the right time. And so those are probably the three things that I would say are really critical as far as a digital transformation is concerned.
Now, we started the podcast talking about your origin story, and as we come full circle, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with something that means something to you. And by that, I mean, is there a book that has maybe inspired you when you've been on your career journey in tech that maybe we can add to our Amazon wish list and other listeners and leaders could check out too? But if I was to ask you to leave us one book, what would it be and why?
We spoke about a time of tremendous change, and we spoke about the fact that the old rulebook may have been thrown out of the window. Well, actually, I think it's certainly been thrown out of the window. As I was going through this transformation, I had come across this book, The Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. And that book talks about how the army, which is typically a command and control structure, had to completely pivot, because for them, when they were fighting the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the old rulebook had been thrown out of the window, and they were not fighting a traditional command and control army. They were combating with a really agile enemy, and they had to redefine themselves to be agile and nimble. And there were so many parallels, I thought, to the business environment, and as did the author, which is why they wrote this amazing business book. And I encourage the readers to check it out.
Awesome. Well, I'll add that book to our Amazon wish list, so anybody listening can check that out. And for anyone listening just wanting to find out more information about any of the topics we explored today and the work that you're doing at CBRE, what's the best starting point for everything, including contacting your team?
Yeah, well, we've got a great new website, cbre.com, which talks about how we enable our clients through the life cycle of technology. And of course, I can be reached on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, or our webpage.
Awesome. I'll add those links so anybody listening can find you nice and easily. And I loved so much about what we talked about today. I mean, the commercial real estate industry, like every industry really, has changed so much in recent years, especially due to the accelerated reliance on data and technology. So love talking about that, and also the challenges facing your clients there, the future of work, efficiency, how CBRE is using data and tech to solve some of those challenges, and also your perspective on what's next in the industry, but also your origin story, and also leaving us with a great book for our Amazon wish list too. So a big thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and share that with me today.
Thank you.
So over to everybody listening, do you have any insights that you would like to share around real estate, Proptech, the future of work, or anything that pops into your head, or anything that resonated with you after listening to today's conversation? As always, I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. You can get me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. And if you want to email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, and my website, if you'd like to work with me, is techblogwriter.co.uk. So I'd love to hear more about what you think of today's episode, and also if you've got any questions to ask or want to come on the podcast, whatever it is, just pop me a quick message. But that's it for today's episode, so hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow, but if not, just thank you for listening today, and until next time, don't be a stranger.